Good morning, dear Sangha. Today is the 29th of September 2013, and we are in the Magnolia Grove Monastery in this meditation hall called the Rising Tide Meditation Hall on the last day of our retreat with the theme Healing Oneself, Healing the World. Today is also a day of mindfulness. There are many hundreds of us joining the retreat. This meditation hall, Rising Tide Meditation Hall, has been built by monks and nuns and lay practitioners. The professionals only help with the frame, so you can see the love and the brotherhood and sisterhood in every inch of this meditation hall. This bell that we used this morning during walking meditation is among the smallest kind of bells, mini bells. And in Buddhist countries like Japan, Vietnam, every family has a little bell like this. And we should know how to make good use of the bell. Because the bell, if we know how to use, can bring a lot of peace and joy and love into the family. And there are already school teachers who have brought to their class a bell, so that teachers and students can be together and restore the calm. We know that in the practice center, the sound of the bell is considered to be the voice of the Buddha calling us home. The voice of the Buddha from within calling us home to ourselves. Because we have the tendency to run into the future, to go back into the past, to search for happiness elsewhere. And we abandon our body, we abandon our family, abandon nature by doing so. So the bell is helping us to go home and to take care of our body, our feelings, and to restore peace. To go back to our family in order to realize, to recognize the presence of our beloved one and to take care of them. To go back to nature, to Mother Earth, in order to know how to live, what to do in order to preserve her beauty and her health. Because our beauty and our health depends on the beauty of and the health of our planet. But before I tell you how to make use of the bell, I'd like to tell you one of my dreams I had about 25 years ago. That has something to do with the bell. That night I dreamt that I was a student in a university, about 21 years old. I was 60-something, but I dreamt that I was 21. And that day they announced that I was accepted in a class taught by a very distinguished professor, the most beloved professor in the university. Very prestigious kind of class. And I learned that morning that I was accepted in his class. I was so happy to be a student of his and to be in his class. And I went into the office and inquired about where the class will be. And then I saw many students streaming in and inquired. And suddenly I saw a young person of my age who looked exactly like me. The color of his dress, his face, everything looked exactly like me. I was very surprised. Was he me or not me? Another me outside of me. And he was trying to find his way. Maybe he had been accepted in that class also. So I was curious and asked the lady who is in the office to see whether that young man was also accepted into the class. And she said, no way. You, yes, but him, no. I did not understand the dream until much later after I woke up. And so I was inquiring about where the class would be held. And I learned that it is up on the high, on the top of the building. And I tried to find my way up to that class because they said that the class will meet that very morning. And halfway I asked myself, what is the subject of the study in the class? And they told me that music. I was very surprised because I was not a student of music at all. Or should I be accepted in a class of music, a professor of music, and students should study only music. But I was not a student of music. So I had a little bit of worry in myself. But since I knew that I had been accepted in the class, there must be a reason why I should be confident. And when I came to the door of that class, I opened and looked into, and I was so surprised. I had imagined that the class could have only 25, 30 students. But I saw more than 1,000 students in the class. A real assembly. And looking out of the windows, I saw a very beautiful landscape. I saw moon, stars, sun, constellations, and then peaks of mountains full of snow. It's so beautiful, like heaven, like the kingdom of God, like the Pure Land of the Buddha. And I had the impression that this class is assemblies of Bodhisattvas listening to a Buddha who is that beloved professor. I cannot describe to you that kind of feeling when I open the door and I look into the class and look through the windows. It's really an honor to be in that class. And suddenly they told me that I had to make a presentation when the professor came. I was completely lost. I didn't know anything about music. And yet I had to make a presentation on music. And I be the first one who has to make a presentation. So I go looking around and I don't know, I search in my pockets. A kind of instinct, you are looking for help. And suddenly I feel something hard in my pocket. And I took it out. It is a small bell. And I told myself, this is music. This is an instrument of music. And to make a presentation about bell, yes, I can do it. Because I had been practicing with the bell so many years already. So suddenly I regained confidence. I said, yes, I can make a presentation about this instrument of music. I got ready, and when they announced that the professor is coming in, I woke up. And I regretted so much. If the dream had continued for another 3 minutes, I would have been able to see him. That beloved professor that everyone adore. It's like a Buddha addressing the assembly of Bodhisattvas. So after I woke up, I tried to remember the details of the dream. And slowly I decipher that enigma. Who is that young man who looked exactly like me and who was not accepted? Why I was accepted, and he who was of my age, who looked exactly like me and was not accepted. I told myself that that young man was me. And maybe he still got caught in some kind of views. That is why he is not free enough in order to be accepted. And he is myself. I have left him behind because I have got some kind of insight that can help me to get rid of that kind of attachment to views or so on. So I found out that young man was myself. And I have left him behind. That is why I had enough freedom to be accepted in that assembly of students. And I thought that all of us may like to think about that. Because each of us may have views that we consider to be the truth. We are attached to that kind of views. And the Buddhist practice is that you should be ready to abandon your views in order to get a higher kind of insight. And if you get caught into your views, and that you have no chance to progress in your practice. So I left myself behind in order to have a chance to continue. So I'm going to give you that demonstration that I should do it for the professor. First of all, the bell is an instrument that can help us go home to ourselves. And the sound of the bell is the voice of the Buddha within. It's not a Buddha up there in the sky on the cloud, but the Buddha inside of us, because all of us have a Buddha nature, the possibility to wake up, to understand, and to love, and to transform afflictions. There is a Buddha within, and the practice is to help that Buddha to have a chance to manifest in order for our affliction to be transformed, our joy, our happiness, our love to be restored. So the voice, the sound of the bell should be considered to be the voice of the Buddha. And that is why when you hear the bell, you should have that attitude of reverence, of respect. And that is why in the Buddhist tradition, every time you hear the bell, and if you don't sit up, you do not have what we call fine manners. Where every time you hear the bell, you hear the voice of the Buddha, you have to put yourself, your body, into a position that is that should be respectful, and you have to end the kind of talk that is not that does not go in the direction of right speech. You have to end the kind of thinking that is not producing understanding and compassion. You stop talking, you stop thinking, you prepare yourself in order to receive, to listen to the voice of the Buddha. And that is why before you invite the bell to sound, in Vietnamese, in Chinese, in Japanese, we don't say we hit the bell or we strike the bell, but we invite the bell to sound. Inviting the bell to sound. Because you should look at the bell as a friend, as a bodhisattva, as an enlightened being that helps you to wake up and to go home to yourself. Even that is a small bell, but it has a cushion to sit on. It's doing sitting meditation. And this stick, we call it, not the stick, but the inviter. That is to invite the bell to sound. That bell is so big, too big to be put in here. But you have to try. If you are in charge of inviting the bell, your title is Bell Master. This morning, Thầy Pháp Lưu is our Bell Master. Brother Stream. And as a bell master, you should have enough calm, solidity. And you should be able to produce this kind of sound that can help people concentrate. The sound should be beautiful and powerful enough. And there are those of us who have been inviting the bell to sound for 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, but not a good. They are not a good bell master yet. You have to continue to learn. The same is true with monastics. If monastics don't train themselves, and then the quality of the sound will not be good enough. So before you invite the bell to sound, you have to bow to the bell. A bodhisattva bell. And then you set the inviter in this position, and you begin to breathe. And there is a verse that you have to memorize before you can touch the bell. And that verse is, when I was a novice, that verse was in classical Chinese. 4 lines, and each line 7 words. But I have translated into Vietnamese. And it means body, speech and mind in perfect oneness. You breathe in with that line. Body, speech and mind in perfect oneness. While you breathe in, you have to bring these 3 elements together. You bring your mind home to your body. You bring your speech back to your body. Because these 3 aspects of our action, body, speech and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. And that's why when you breathe out, body, speech and mind in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May all of you who listen to me awaken from your forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is the opposite of mindfulness. May all of you awaken who listen to me, awaken from your forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. Just you breathe in and out 2 times with the verse, and you have enough calm and peace, and you are qualified as a bell master. And if this is a mini bell, you might like to put it in your palm like I did this morning. Visualize your palm, your hand as a lotus flower with 5 petals. And this is a jewel in the lotus flower. You know, Om Mani Padme Hum. It means all the jewel in the lotus. Padma is lotus. Padme is in the lotus. Mani is the jewel. You can visualize a lotus flower and a jewel in the heart of a lotus flower. So you are holding the bell like this. You are concentrating. You are practicing visualization. And then you practice breathing according to the verse. Body, speech and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May all of you who listen to me awaken from your forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. And then after that, you produce a half sound. Half sound. In order to warn people that a full sound is going to happen very soon. Because you don't want them to be caught in a surprise. As a bell master, you should be gentle. You should warn them that a full sound is going to happen very soon, so that they have the chance to prepare themselves in order to receive the voice of the Buddha. And after having made the half sound, we call it sometimes the waking sound. You breathe in and out 1 time. It might take 3 seconds to breathe in and 5 seconds to breathe out. At that time, it is enough for people to stop talking, stop thinking, stop doing the things they are doing in order to get ready to receive the message of the Buddha, the voice of the Buddha. And as a bell master, as a good bell master, you should give people enough time to prepare themselves, to restore some peace, some stability in them, so that they can receive well the sound of the bell, the voice of the Buddha. Half sound. And you breathe in, and you breathe out, and you calm yourself. If you are a young person, you should know that your in-breath and out-breath are shorter than the in-breath and out-breath of adult. So after you have finished your in-breath and out-breath, you give them some extra seconds so that they can enjoy fully the in-breath and out-breath. And then you produce the first full sound. And when you hear the full sound of bell, everyone, yourself and everyone, begin to enjoy breathing in and out 3 times deeply. And enjoy our in-breath and out-breath. And breathing in, you say silently, I listen. I listen. Breathing out, you say, this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. 3 times. My true home is in the here and the now. Because the past is no longer there, the future is not yet there. Life is available only in the present moment. And that is why breathing in, we go home to the here and the now, which is our true home. In our true home, you can find anything that you are looking for. Our body is there in the present moment. Our feelings, our happiness, our pain, the kingdom of God, the Pure Land of the Buddha, brotherhood, sisterhood, everything that we are looking for are available in the here and the now. And that is your true home. I listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home 3 times. And there is a way to listen that can allow peace and joy to penetrate into every cell of your body. You listen not only with your ears, with your intellect, but you can invite all the cells in your body to join you in listening. We are a community of cells. And every cell has intelligence, concentration, insight, mindfulness. Don't think that only in the brain you have mindfulness, concentration, and insight. All these 51 mental formations are fully present in every cell of our body. Science now is capable of taking a cell and reproduce a whole person. And that our ancestors, they are still alive. If we think that our ancestors have died, that's not correct. Because we are there, alive, our ancestors continue to be alive in us. Our ancestors have transmitted themselves to us with their talents, their experiences, their happiness, their suffering. They are fully present in every cell of our body. Our mother, our father are in us. And they are in every cell of our body. We cannot take them out of our body. So when you listen to the bell, you might like to invite all the cells in your body to join you in listening. And all the ancestors of all generations can to join us in listening to the bell, deep listening. And if we know how to listen, and then peace can penetrate into every cell of our body. And not only we enjoy peace, relaxation, the present moment, but all our ancestors in us enjoy also the present moment with the wonders of life in the here and the now. So instead of saying, I listen, you may like to say, we listen. Because we are a community of cells, and all our ancestors are in us. And listen like that, you can touch the truth of interbeing, the truth of no self. You can touch the ultimate. Really listen. This wonderful sound brings us back to our true home in the here and the now. So awakening, joy, happiness, love is possible with one in-breath. That is the practice of deep listening, going home to the here and the now. If you want to look for the Buddha, it is in the here and the now that you should look for him. If you want to meet Jesus Christ, it is in the here and the now that you can meet him. If you want to touch the kingdom of God, it is in the here and the now that you can touch. If you want the nirvana, it is in the here and the now that you can touch nirvana. Nirvana is our true nature of no birth and no death. Yesterday, we have heard that a wave does not have to go and search for water. And we do not have to go and search for nirvana or the kingdom of God. Nirvana and the kingdom of God are already there. And with some mindfulness and concentration, we can touch the kingdom of God and nirvana, the pure land of the Buddha in the here and the now. So this is a very deep practice. This is a super music. It can offer you peace and great togetherness and insight. And after you have finished your 3 in-breath and out-breath with that verse, I listen, this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. And then you invite the bell to sound for the second time and produce a full sound again. gentleness, non-violence are the characteristic of the sound of the bell. You produce the kind of sound that is gentle but still powerful, not too weak, not shocking the ear of the people. And I have been playing that kind of music 71 years. And I am a student of music. So the way is not to strike directly like this, but to have the sound to soar up from the bell, like a bird flying up from the bell. It should go like this, parabola, and not brutally in a straight line. So with 3 full sounds, you have a chance to breathe in and out deeply 9 times. 9 times. And you can bring a lot of peace, stability and joy, relaxation into your body and into your feelings. And if we practice together, listening together, we produce a very powerful collective energy of peace and joy and stability that can nourish many people. And after you have finished the 3rd sound and the last in-breath and out-breath, you put down the inviter and you bow to the bell again. Now I would like to sum up in the board. Holding the bell, you begin to breathe in and out with the verse. Body, speech and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. In breath, out breath. May all of you who listen to me awaken from your forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. You are calm, you are a bell master. And then you produce a half sound, the waken up sound, to warn people, to help people know that a full sound is going to happen. And you allow them enough time to prepare themselves, stopping the talking, stopping the thinking. Get ready to listen to the voice of the Buddha. And let at least 1 in-breath and 1 out-breath. You, as the bell master, you allow us to have enough time for us to prepare ourselves to receive the message of the Buddha. And then we produce the full sound. And after the first full sound, we have a chance to enjoy breathing in and out 3 times. We listen. This wonderful sound brings us back to our true home. We listen. This wonderful sound brings us back to our true home. 3 times. That is a practice of peace, practice of going home, practice of joy. And then another full sound, and 3 in-breath and out-breath. And finally, the third full sound, followed by 3 in-breath and out-breath. In our home, we should arrange so that we have a room, a mini meditation hall in our home. It does not need to be large. It should be large enough for a few cushions, 2 for mother and father, and 1 or 2 for children. And we need a bell. We need a bell. Before you invite a bell home, you must be sure that the sound is good. The sound of bell is good. It does not need to be big, but the sound should be good. And then in the morning, before the children go to school or you go to work, the whole family can sit down and enjoy breathing with each other. 3 sounds of the bell with the Buddha. You begin your day with peace and joy and togetherness. It's nice to sit there in a circle and breathe and look at each other and smile. And that can become a tradition in your family. It does not take a long time. This is very beautiful practice, the practice of peace, togetherness, harmony in the house. In that room that we may call a breathing room, mini meditation hall, you may like to have 1 flower pot with 1 flower only. That's good enough, representing freshness and beauty and the Dharma body. In the Mahayana tradition, the Buddha is always alive, the living Buddha, and he is giving Dharma talk. If you look at a flower with mindfulness and concentration, then the flower is giving a Dharma talk. You can hear the Dharma talk. You can hear the flower teaching impermanence, non-self, interbeing. And that is what Mahayana Buddhism teaches us. Any pebble, any leaf, any flower is teaching the Dharma. You do not need to go back into history 2,500 years in order to listen to a Dharma talk. You sit there, and if you have enough mindfulness and concentration, and you can hear the trees giving a Dharma talk. Life. You can hear the flower teaching about interbeing, no self, impermanence, joy, happiness. That is the teaching of Mahayana Buddhism. And that is what we call Dharmakaya, the living Buddha, available anywhere, at any time. And the children, you may ask them to be in charge of that space in your home. Ask them to change the flower, change the water, to remove the dust, because that is the territory of the Buddha. That small space in your home. And when a person in the family sit in there, you should not talk to him anymore, talk to her anymore. You cannot shout at him or her anymore because he is in the territory of the Buddha. And you have to agree with your children that every time we have a problem, we have a painful feeling, we are not peaceful, we have the right to go into that space. Close the door, mindfully sit down, invite the bell to sound and breathe. And while one person is doing that, the other people in the house have to respect. And if they are good practitioners, they will stop whatever they are doing and they join the breathing. Suppose your child is breathing, sitting and breathing in the breathing room because he was not happy, he was angry at something. And then you as the mother in the kitchen, you are cutting vegetables and you hear the sound of the bell, you know that your child is breathing, and then you stop cutting carrots and you enjoy breathing in and out. You support your child. And you can do better. You can leave the kitchen, go slowly into the meditation hall in the style of walking meditation. You open the door, you go in, you close the door gently behind you, you sit down close to your child and you breathe with him or her. That is a very beautiful scene. That is the practice of peace, togetherness and love. So you have to sit down with members of our family and agree with each other. If any time in the family the atmosphere is not harmonious, is not calm, heavy to breathe, and then anyone will have the right to go into that room and invite the bell to sound. And everyone will practice breathing in and out and restore the calm, the peace, and the love that they have lost because of one unmindful, unskillful word or deed. This is very easy to do. So when your partner is not in good mood, your partner has some worries, you might remind him or her. You said that, shall we go together and listen to the bell and breathe for a few minutes? That's something easy you can do. And we teach your children when they have a problem, and then they can go and breathe, and we can support them. And at the time of bed, going to bed, it's nice that the whole family sit down and enjoy 3 sounds of the bell and 9 times of breathing in and out. I'm sure that if a family practicing breathing with the small bell like that will restore peace, harmony, love, togetherness. And that is what I call a civilization. You don't need a lot of electronic gadgets in order to be civilized. You need a small bell, and you need your in breath and your out breath. And I think the beloved professor, he is in this audience. He has listened to my presentation of music. Because as a monk, you had to learn a lot. You had to learn to use the bell, the drum, the big bell, and then you have to learn to chant a lot of music in the life of a monastic. Now I return the bell to the bell master. In this retreat we have learned the first 2 mantras. Darling, I'm here for you. And the second is, darling, I know you are there. I am so happy. And we know that the mantra, the 2 mantras can be practiced in English. And the effect can be seen right away. You are happy and the other person is happy right away after you have pronounced the mantra. You are mindful, you are concentrated, you are fresh, and you pronounce the first mantra and the second mantra. The third mantra you need to pronounce is when you notice that your beloved one suffers. Because you are mindful, you know that something is not going well with him or with her. So you restore yourself, you go to him or to her, and you pronounce the third mantra, darling, I know you suffer. That is why I'm here for you. When you suffer, and if the person you love the most does not know that you suffer more. But if he is aware of your suffering, he comes to support you, you suffer less right away. Before he can do something to help you suffer less already because he's there for you. Darling, I know you suffer. That is why I'm here for you. And you can use your mobile telephone to pronounce the mantra. You can send the mantra in the form of an email also. It's not too difficult. Because you have learned that to love is to be there. To be there for yourself, to be there for your beloved one. The fourth mantra is a little bit more difficult. And you need the fourth mantra when you suffer yourself. You suffer and you believe that the one who makes you suffer is the one you love the most. If it were another one who has said that to you, who has done it to you, you would have suffered much less. But it's not someone else. It's him. It's he, her. It's she that has said that to you and done it to you. That is why you suffer so deeply. And you need that fourth mantra. Usually we react in an unwise way. We are so hurt that we want to punish him or her for having made us suffer so much. We want to tell him or her that we don't need him, we do not her. Without that person, we can very well survive. There is a pride in yourself. You prefer to go to your room and lock your room and cry alone. And when he comes and tries to comfort you, you don't want. You say, leave me alone. And when he asks, darling, do you suffer? You say, me suffer? Why do I have to suffer? That is pride. That is to punish the person you love, because he has there to make you suffer. And many of us do like that. It's not very wise. We want to punish that person by saying directly that without you, I can survive very well. And that kind of pride can cost a lot, can destroy our relationship. There is a story, a real story in Vietnam that every Vietnamese know, the story of Mr. Trương and Lady Nam Sương. They were a young couple, and he was drafted into the army, and she was pregnant. So they cry a lot when he departed, and they don't know whether he can go home alive. But fortunately, 3 years later, he came home alive. And she went to the porch, to the gate of the village, in order to greet him, together with the little boy. He was born during the time he was absent. So they cry happily in each other's arms. And then according to our tradition, you have to announce the good news to our ancestors. Every home has an altar in the central part of the house, because ancestral worship is very universal in many Asian countries like Korea, Japan, Vietnam, China, and so on. Every day you have to offer a stick of incense on the altar of your ancestors. It takes only 1-2 minutes. You remove the dust on the altar, you light incense. And that is the moment when you connect with your ancestors. We know that a person alienated from their roots cannot be a happy person. That is why this practice of offering a stick of incense to ancestors, I think is very good. In that moment, that may last only 1 or 2 minutes, you have a chance to get in touch with your ancestors. And you know where you come from. And your ancestors are not dead. They are still alive in you. And wherever you go, they go with you. That is our belief. Whenever you go, your ancestors go with you, because they are in every cell of your body. They are still alive because you are alive. And according to this practice, anything that happens in your family, you have to announce it to your ancestors. Suppose a baby is born last night, this morning, you have to announce that to your ancestors. They have the right to know. You might place an offering on the altar, bananas or orange or sweet rice, and announce the good news to your ancestors. If you are to marry your daughter to a young man in the next village, you have to announce it to your sister, to your ancestors. They have the right to know. And if you are to send your little boy to school first time or to college, you have to announce that to your altar. And usually you place an offering on the altar, you light incense and we bow. That is the practice of ancestral worship. So the lady left the boy to his father and went to the market to do some shopping in order to prepare an offering to be placed on the altar. And during the absence of the young mother, the young father tried to talk to his son that he met for the first time, and tried to persuade him to call him daddy. But the little boy refused. No, mister, you are not my daddy. My daddy used to come every night. And my mother used to talk to him at length. And sometimes she cried a lot with him, and every time she sat down, he sat down. And when she lie down, he lie down also. So that is the talk of the little boy. In fact, there's no one coming to the house. The truth is, one day the little boy went to the hamlet and played, and went back and said that, Mommy, everyone has a daddy. Why don't I have one? And the lady is so difficult to speak about the war and the army and so on. So as she lighted the kerosene lamp, her image, her shadow is projected on the wall. And he said, here is your daddy. Why don't you join your hand and say, hello, good evening, daddy. And he thought that shadow is his daddy. And of course, she talked to her own shadow. She was so alone. My darling, you have gone away for a long time. How can I be alone, raise our child? And she cried. She cried with the shadow. And of course, when she sat down, the shadow sat down. But that talk of the baby gave a wrong perception to the father. He thought that during his absence, someone has intruded into the family. That is why when the lady came home, he did not look at her anymore. He did not talk to her anymore. He suffered so much. We know that in a relationship, wrong perceptions can be a daily matter. And if you are victims of a wrong perception, that gives rise a lot of anger and suspicion and suffering. That is why we have to be very careful. We have to practice mindfulness of perceptions. She asked something, he did not answer. And she suffered very much. She did not understand why. From the time she came back from the marketplace, he did not look at her anymore. He did not talk to her anymore. He did not answer her questions. What I have done in order to deserve such a treatment. But she silently finished making the offering and places on the altar. And he spread the mat and offered the incense and did the touching of the earth 4 times before ancestors. And then he believed that his wife had committed an adultery. That is why he rolled up the mat and did not allow her to touch the earth before the ancestors. And she was very deeply humiliated. And after that, instead of sitting down and enjoy a meal of reunion, he left for the bar, for the liquor shop, and tried to forget his pain with the liquor, and did not come home until 2, 3 in the morning, and did not wake up until near noon, and that after that left again. So the young lady could not stand it anymore, bear it anymore. Finally, she threw herself into the river and drowned. It is a tragedy. And in the afternoon, he learned about the bad news. He went home and took care of the child. And that night, when he lighted the kerosene lamp, and his shadow projected on the wall, the child said, "Mister, this is my daddy. He comes every night like this, and my mother talked to him and cry a lot. And when my mom sit down, he sit down." And now the young father knew the truth. It's too late. The tragedy took place because none of the two knew how to practice the fourth mantra. The fourth mantra is, "Darling, I suffer. Please help." It's so simple. And the next time when you suffer, and if you believe that the one who makes you suffer is the person you love the most, you should not behave like the Nam Seung lady or her husband. You should pronounce the fourth mantra. And in Plum Village we have elaborated the practice into 3 lines. If you cannot talk to him directly because you have suffered so much, you can write it down on a piece of paper. The first line is, "Darling, I suffer, and I want you to know it." It means that I don't understand why you have done such a thing to me. You have said such a thing to me. Please explain. But the sentence can be short. "Darling, I suffer, and I know I want you to know it." Because you have committed, you have made the commitment together that you will share your happiness and suffering, right? And this is only to do it. If you suffer, you have to share it with the other person. Why do you want to keep the suffering only for yourself? Pride is the cause. And in true love, pride should not have a place. Because your happiness is his happiness. Her suffering is your suffering. That is equanimity, the fourth element of true love that we have learned yesterday in the question and answer session. The first line, "Darling, I suffer, and I want you to know it." The second line, "I am doing my best, because I am a practitioner. I have learned how to take care of my anger, my suffering." Other people who are not practitioners, they will shout, they will protest, they will retaliate, but not me, because I am a practitioner. When the pain, come up. I know how to breathe, how to walk, how to embrace it and look deeply. I am doing my best. And I may succeed to understand. It may be my suffering is born from my wrong perception and not from you. So I am doing my best. And the second sentence is like an indirect invitation for the other person to practice. When he saw that piece of paper on his desk, he read it. What I have done, what I have said not to make her suffer like this. So that person is searching, reflecting, looking deeply. And that is, it means that you invite that person to practice looking deeply with you as the roots of the ill-being, the root of pain. And the third sentence, please help. Please help me. Because I may not succeed in my attempt to transform the suffering in me. So I may need your help. And that is true because as a couple, as a partner and partner, as a father and son, mother and daughter, we should help each other. So it's very natural to call for help. If you do the opposite, that would be a wrong thing. I don't need you. I can survive very well alone. That is against the kind of commitment you have made in the beginning. Please help. And according to this practice, you have to deliver that message before the dead end of 24 hours. You might keep your pain for yourself for 24 hours. You might practice in order to remove to transform your suffering, your afflictions. But if at the end of the 24th hour you have not succeeded, and then you have to deliver that message to him or to her. Because it's not good for you to keep it for yourself more than 24 hours. It's not healthy. And you may, if you cannot go and tell him directly, tell her directly, and then you write it on a piece of paper and put it on his desk, or you can send it in the form of an email. The fourth mantra. If Mr. Tung, the young father, had practiced the mantra, the tragedy would not happen, would not have happened. He can go to her and practice the mantra. Darling, I suffer so much. The boy said that during my absence, someone came in. How can you do such a thing to me? Please explain. And then the lady would have had a chance to explain. And both of them would have been able to avoid the strategy. So easy. Darling, I suffer so much. The boy said that during my absence, someone used to come every night. Please explain. That is the mantra. And the lady would tell him. And they would restore their communication and happiness. And she did not do it herself. She should have come to him and say, my husband, I suffer so much. I don't understand why from the time I come home, you did not look at me anymore. You did not talk to me anymore. Have I done something awful in order to deserve that kind of treatment? Please help. And then he would tell her. And both they would be able to avoid the strategy. And that is why we don't want our friend to step into the same kind of mistakes. We might write down these three sentences on a small piece of paper, the format of a credit card. 3 sentences only, and slip it into your wallet. And next time, when you suffer, and if you believe that your suffering has been created by him or by her, take it out and read, and you know exactly what to do. Yesterday, there was a question on the suffering of the people in the Middle East, Israelis and Palestinians. We had a chance to talk about the practice of love and speech and deep listening, which is the practice of the 4th mindfulness trainings that many of you have received this morning. Because the practice of deep listening and love and speech can be very effective, and it helps restore communication right away and bring about reconciliation. With mindfulness, we listen to our own suffering. We know that our suffering is linked and reflect the suffering of our father, our mother, our partner. And after having understood our suffering, we feel much lighter. Compassion is born. And we begin to be compassionate toward ourselves. We know how to love ourselves. And with that kind of understanding, you can look at the other person. The other person might be your father, your mother, your partner, your son, your daughter. And you can see easily the suffering in that person. Yesterday we talked to a child about the suffering of children inflicted by father and mother. A child can look deeply and see that their parents do have difficulties and they did not know how to handle the suffering in them. And they pour that suffering into the people around them, including the ones they love. So once you have seen and understood the suffering in the other person, your anger is transformed. Understanding suffering helps anger to be transformed. That is always true. Compassion is born in your heart and you don't suffer anymore. And you want to help him or her to suffer less. And that is why you are capable of using the kind of loving speech that can help open his heart. My Father, I know that you have suffered so much in the last many years. I have not been able to help you to suffer less. In fact, I have reacted in such a way that makes you suffer more. I am sorry. Father, it's not my intention to make you suffer. Just because I did not see your suffering, I did not understand your suffering. That is why I have reacted in that way. So please help me. Please tell me about your difficulties, your sufferings. If I understand your suffering, your difficulties, I will not react the way I have in the past. You got to help me, Father. If you don't help me, who will help me? I need help. That is the kind of loving speech that we can use when we have seen the suffering in the other person. And you can tell your partner, you can use the same language to your partner. Darling, I know you have suffered quite a lot in the last many years. I could not help you, so suffer less. Instead, I have made it more difficult for you by the way I reacted. I'm sorry. It's not my intention to make you suffer, darling. It's because I have not seen, understood the suffering in you. So please help me. Tell me. If you don't help me, who will? And it is easy to talk like that once understanding and compassion are already in you. And according to our experiences, 4 days of practice are enough to achieve reconciliation. We have organized many retreats of mindfulness like this one everywhere, including in Japan, in South Korea, in Hong Kong, in Macau, in China, in Malaysia, Thailand, so on. And the miracle of reconciliation always happens in our retreats. In the first 3-4 days, we learn to breathe and to walk, to calm down our body, to calm down our feelings, and try to get in touch with the refreshing and healing elements around us and in us. Allow the collective energy of mindfulness and brotherhood to help heal our wounds. We listen to our own suffering, understand the suffering in us, and we begin to look at the suffering of the other person. The other person may be our father, our mother, our husband, our wife, our son or our daughter, with whom we have some difficulties. And then on the 5th day, we are giving the tools to work with loving speech and deep listening. And on the 5th day, we always encourage practitioners in the retreat to apply that kind of teaching into practice and reconcile with the other person. The other person may be in the retreat. That is much easier because he or she has been exposed to the teaching. Many good seeds in him have been watered by the practice and by the Dharma talk. And so it's easier. But if the other person is not there, and then you can use your mobile phone and practice. And many have succeeded in using the telephone and practice. Remember that lady in Macau? In the morning of the 6th day during breakfast, she came to me and said that the night before she has used telephone and practiced with her husband, and they did reconcile. In one of the retreats in northern Germany, that morning 4 gentlemen came to me and reported that the night before they have used telephones and talked to their fathers, and they were able to reconcile with their fathers. One of them said, "Dear Thầy, I could not believe it. I could not believe that I can do it. I was so angry at my father that I had made a vow never to see him again in my life. He has made me suffer so much. But during the retreat, I began to see the suffering of my father. And last night when I called him and hear his voice, Suddenly I found myself capable of speaking to him like that. Daddy, I know you have suffered quite a lot in the past many years. I was not able to help you to suffer less. And I made it more difficult for you by my stubbornness, my way of reacting. Daddy, it's not my intention to make you suffer. No, it's because I was ignorant. I did not see your suffering, your difficulties. So please help me. Help me and tell me. If you don't help me, nobody will help me. Please. And then they talked to each other. The father began to cry like a baby. He opened his heart, and father and son talked and reconciled. Dear Thầy, you know something? The first thing I will do after the retreat is to go to see my father. So the miracle of reconciliation always takes place thanks to the practice of the fourth mindfulness training. Deep listening, loving speech. And many of these people who have been able to reconcile, they are not Buddhists. You don't need to be a Buddhist in order to practice this. And 4 days, 5 days may be enough to end the situation, to end a difficult situation. We should not let the situation drag on like that for a long time. With mindfulness, with practice of deep looking, you can change the situation with this kind of practice, which is very effective. Yesterday there was a question on death and the fear of dying. All of us have that seed of fear of dying, because we believe to die means you go into the realm of non-being. But we have learned that death is not for later on. Death is happening right here and right now. And wherever death is, birth is also. The death of a cloud means the birth of the rain. And the cloud can die slowly. And the birth can take place slowly. Maybe half the cloud has been transformed into rain. And the other half of the cloud looking down and see herself down on earth in a new form as a stream of water. And that is not actually to die. That is only a transformation. As Lavoisier said, nothing is born, nothing dies. Everything is transforming. It's very close to the Buddhist teaching. So a cloud cannot die. It can only transform itself into rain or into snow. So half the cloud still in the sky is looking down and see half of herself on earth. And the cloud may wave and say, "Hello, myself down there. I will join you very soon." And we have learned something important. It's left and right. The left cannot be without the right. The right cannot be without left. So birth and death are the same. There cannot be birth without death. There cannot be death without birth. So every moment is a moment of birth and death. And we are dying, we are being reborn in every moment. Why should we be afraid of that moment we call death? If there is death, there is something else at the same time, birth. And you can renew itself every moment. And death is a very good moment to renew itself, to renew ourselves. In any case, Mother Earth have brought us to life in this beautiful form. And we are going back to Mother Earth every day. Every time you scratch like this, thousands of cells are already going back to Earth. We don't wait to that moment in order to go back to our Mother Earth. We are going back always. We are coming out from Mother Earth every moment. That is the teaching of impermanence. And with that insight of impermanence, no birth and no death, there should be no fear, no despair. In the time of the Buddha, there was a lay practitioner called Anathapindika. He was a banker. He was a businessman. He has a heart full of compassion. He took care of the poor people, the orphans, the aged people, and people in the town of Shravasti loved him and gave him that name, Anathapindika, the one who takes care of the unfortunate people. His real name is Sudatta. One day he visited the city of Rajagraha, south of the Ganges River, and he discovered the Buddha. And he went to visit the Buddha in the bamboo grove. And after that he became a student of the Buddha, and he invited the Buddha to come to his country, north of the Ganges River, Shravasti, to teach, and the Buddha accepted. He went home and bought a very beautiful piece of land and offered to the Buddha as a practice center. And he served the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha for more than 30 years and got a lot of joy and happiness. His family is a family where all members practice. They go to the Jeta Grove every fortnight to participate in a day of mindfulness, listen to the Dharma talk, practice sitting, walking, and so on. And one day the Buddha learned that Anathapindika was dying. He went to visit him, and after that he assigned his beloved disciple, the Venerable Shariputra, to take care of the lay practitioner. And one day, Shariputra learned that Anathapindika was dying. So he took his young brother in the Dharma, Ananda, to come with him and help Anathapindika to die peacefully, without fear. When they came, Anathapindika tried to sit up, but he was so weak he could not. The two monks said that he should not try. He should lie down, and they go bring 2 chairs close and talk. The first thing Shariputra asked is, "Dear friend, how do you feel in your body? Is the pain in your body decreasing or still increasing?" And Anathapindika said that, "Dear Venerables, it does not seem that the pain in my body is decreasing. is increasing all the time. I suffer a lot. Then Shariputra said, in that case, let us do a guided meditation on the three jewels, focusing our attention on the Buddha, on the Dharma, and the Sangha. Shariputra is one of the most intelligent monks, disciples of the Buddha. He knew very well that Anattapindika adored the Buddha and the Sangha. And he took a great deal of pleasure serving the Buddha and the Sangha. That is why focusing our attention on the Buddha and the Sangha would water the seed of happiness in him. And 3-5 minutes of meditating on the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha help restore the balance between pain and happiness. And Anattapindika was able to smile. Not difficult. When you sit with a person who is dying, you should recognize the seed of happiness and joy in him or her. And if you water these seeds, you can help restore the balance, and that person will suffer less. And then Shariputra continued with his guided meditation, recognizing the elements of water, air, fire, earth, inside of the body and outside of the body. And meditation on the 6 sense organs. This body is not me. When conditions are sufficient, the body manifests. The body has not come from anywhere and will go nowhere. These feelings are not me. These perceptions are not me. And the guided meditation led Anattapindika to touch the nature of no birth and no death. No coming, no going. No oneness, no sameness, no otherness. In the retreat, we have considered the notion of birth and death, the notion of being and non-being. If we consider the notion of no coming, no going, no sameness, no otherness, and then you can touch the nature, the true nature of no birth and no death in a person. This is if we meditate on the flame, we can see that the nature of the flame is no birth and no death, no coming, no going. The conditions for the flames to manifest are sufficient. And the last condition is a movement of my finger. And with this candle, we can generate another flame. If we ask the flame, where have you come from? And then the flame will tell you, dear Thầy, dear Sangha, I have come from nowhere. I have not come from the east or the west or the south or the north. when conditions are sufficient, I manifest. And that is true. The flame has not come from South America or Asia. Her nature is non-local. The same thing is true with your beloved one. The same thing is true with yourself. And if you continue to ask the flame, my dear little flame, where have you gone? I don't see you anymore. Where have you gone? It's like you have lost one of your beloved one, and you cry and you say, my beloved, where are you now? Where have you gone? And the flame, you can hear her answer. Dear Thầy Đề Sangha, I have not gone anywhere. I have not gone to Asia, to Africa, to Australia. I have not gone to the north, the south, the east, the west. My nature is no going, no coming. When conditions are no longer sufficient, I stop this manifestation in order to manifest otherwise, in other form. So the cloud, the nature of the clouds is the same. The cloud does not go into non-being. The cloud just stop manifesting as a cloud in order to re-manifest as the rain or the snow. A cloud can never die. So your beloved one is like that. It's impossible for her to die. She stopped her manifestation that you are used to. And she manifests differently. And you have to look deeply to recognize her continuation. Your cloud is calling you in the form of the rain. Darling, I'm not dead. I'm still alive here. It's me. Don't you see me? And if you can recognize your beloved cloud in her new form, the rain, and then you don't have to suffer anymore. So this body is a cloud. She has not come from anywhere. She would not go anywhere. If conditions are not sufficient, she stops this manifestation and manifests differently. And the problem is that you should have the kind of eyes of signlessness. We have learned that the other day, in order to recognize your beloved cloud, your beloved one. So the true nature of reality is no birth, no death. No being, no non-being, no coming, no going. And the last pair is no sameness, no otherness. This is a guided meditation. This is one flame, this is another flame. My dear little flame, can you tell us, are you the same flame with the other, or you are a totally different flame? The answer is, dear Thầy Đề Sangha, I am not exactly the same flame with the other, but I am not a totally different flame either. That is the teaching of the middle path of the Buddha. When you open the album, the family album, you see yourself as a 5-year-old boy. And you ask the boy, am I the same person with you? Or am I a different person? I look so different now. Body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. I am quite different from the little boy. The answer is the same. You are not the same with the little boy, but you are not a totally different being either. So that is the teaching of the middle path given by the Buddha. No sameness, no otherness. So the father has to look at his son and see that as soon as his son is there, he is alive. He cannot die. Because the rain is there, the cloud does not die. It's impossible for the cloud to die. The teaching of the middle path, middle way, transcending all kinds of notions. And there are 4 pairs of notions which are at the base: birth and death, being and non-being, coming and going, and sameness and otherness. And with the guided meditation given by Shariputra, Anathapindika was able to touch his nature of no birth and no death. It's like the wave realizing that she is water and not only a wave. And Anathapindika began to cry. Very successful guided meditation. Ananda was surprised. He did not understand. He said, "Dear friend, why do you cry? Do you still regret something?" Anathapindika smiled and said, "No, Venerable Ananda, I don't regret anything. In that case, maybe you did not succeed in this meditation." "No, Venerable Ananda, I did it very well, very successfully. Why are you crying then?" "I cry, dear Venerable Ananda, because I am so moved. I have served the Buddha and the Sangha in the last 30 years, but I have never received and put into practice such a wonderful teaching, the teaching of no birth and no death, no being and no non-being, no coming, no going, no sameness, no otherness. I am free now." Ananda said, "Dear friend, you don't know, but this teaching, we monastics, we receive almost every day." Anathapindika said, "Dear Venerable Ananda, please go home and tell the Lord that we lay people, many of us are so busy, many of us do not have a chance to receive and practice this teaching, but there are still a considerable number of us who still have the time to receive and put into the practice this wonderful teaching. So please tell the Lord to dispense this teaching also to us, lay practitioners." And that was the last request made by Anathapindika. Ananda said, "Yes, I will go back and tell the Lord." And after that, Anathapindika died very peacefully with a smile. This story is recorded in a sutta called the teaching given to the sick person, to the dying person. And you may like to read it in the Plumley Chanting book. If you are a doctor, a nurse, a psychotherapist, or someone who accompany the dying person, you might learn the art of Shariputra. Dear friends, there will be mindful eating together after this. And in the afternoon there will be a session of deep total relaxation offered by Sister Tiangkong. There are those of us who have to leave in the afternoon, but there are many of us who can stay in order to participate in the activities of this afternoon, because today is a day of mindfulness. When you go home to your city, especially those of you who have received the 5 mindfulness trainings this morning, look around and recognize the non-Sangha elements around you. Bring them together and make a Sangha, build Sangha. With a Sangha, you'll be able to continue your practice for a long time. Sangha building is a very beautiful thing to do. Thank you for coming to the retreat. I have been able to water many seeds of happiness and goodness in every one of us. The monastics and members of the order of interbeing are invited to come up. And we sing a song with the title, No Coming, No Going. Please massage your feet, and we shall stand together and sing the song together.